watching the brand new Kaiju number 8 anime and thinking to yourself, I really wish I was building a plastic model kit of that Kaiju right now. Well, you could be if you got this right here. This is the figurized standard Kaiju number 8 by Bandai Spirits. This costs around $34 and I got mine right here through Hobby Link Japan, so if you want your own, link in the description. And so far all I can say is it is pretty badass. It's got a couple of issues with some color accuracy, but besides that it looks great, it's got great articulation, and it's got some cool options too. And it looks a little something like this right here. Now before I actually talk about what it can do, what it looks like, let's wind back a little bit and talk about that build. So when it comes to the build of Kaiju number 8, overall this was very enjoyable, and what you get in the end is quite good. What you get in the actual box is 7 runners or sprues of plastic. 7 is a little bit of an overstatement because one of them is very tiny, but there is 7 of them. Most of the colors for this actual character are represented on these runners, so you've got your almost black, that nice light blue, and the light grey parts for the bone sections on it. This kit right here also does include some stickers. Now in case you're not familiar with Bandai kits, usually what these stickers are for is replicating something Bandai failed to replicate in plastic, aka parts that aren't the color they're meant to be. Essentially, to color correct those. Now we do get a sea of blue stickers in here, but these aren't necessarily for color correcting every single part. For example, the abs section on this particular model kit are in the blue they're meant to be in, but I guess this is in case you want that kind of Tron style glow going on all over the particular kaiju itself. Now there are a couple of parts that are color inaccurate, especially on the arms, but for the most part this thing is probably about 85 to 90% color accurate out of box. When it comes to the actual build, it's the usual figure rise routine. For the most part, you just snip out the parts and attach them together. When it comes to the legs, we've got 2 parts for the upper legs and then the attachment parts inside for the joints. The joints are basically 2 or 3 point builds, which are just to give you that little bit of a hinge mechanism. But without a single doubt, the most intricate aspects to this build are in the torso and the head. Like I mentioned earlier on, the torso does have the actual color separation for the blue on the abs, which is very nice. We've got some nice joints for inside the torso, so we have some moving sections for the shoulder joints to attach into, and we have some nice bone aspects as well for attaching onto the clavicle bones and those Godzilla-esque spikes on the back. Now when it comes to mild letdowns inside this box, the only real letdown is the arms themselves, but there is a little bit of a but to stick onto the end of that. So the bad aspect is there is no blue on these arms whatsoever, but Bandai has designed this in a nice kind of way, so the black musculature-esque sections that go on over it won't really be a problem if you're going to paint it. Basically, you'll only have to mask off one aspect of the arms, spray everything down in blue, or just hand paint it in blue, and then attach the parts on afterwards, and you don't really have to paint around things per se. So nicely designed, albeit a little color inaccurate. The head and the neck are definitely the most interesting parts to build. The neck has a lot of nice joints inside of it. All the plate-like sections from the back of the head attach on via ball joints so they can all move independently. And then we have the cool Oni-like mask face that Kaiju number 8 has. Now I will mention the only real use of stickers I used on this particular kit are the ones for the eyes, which are definitely needed. Unless you're going to hand paint your own eyes onto this thing, you're going to have to go with the stickers inside the box, and there are some options, so you can have it looking dead ahead, to the left or to the right, and the eyes are a little different depending on what faceplate you're going to use, and we have 2 swappable faceplates and a completely alternate head and neck assembly you can build for the open mouth blast thing that Kaiju number 8 does. So this is what this kit will look like out of box with minimal stickers used. I didn't use any of the stickers on the arms or on the body for using with the blue sections. The only actual stickers I used were on the eyes because I felt they were definitely required. But yeah, if you build this out of box, no extra effort. I didn't do any cleanup, no nub mark removal, nothing like that. Just 2 snips off of the runners and this is what you get. So even if you don't have too much in the lines of modeling skills, this is what you will get in the end, and it does look fantastic. The only thing I feel is a little bit of a letdown, like I mentioned earlier on, is the lack of blue in the arms, which you can see right here does look a little plain compared to the art and the actual character in the manga and show. So your only real choices here are to paint those or to actually use the included stickers. When it comes to the face, it does look incredible. It catches the light so nicely, especially if it's lit from the side. You can see all of that nice detail in the little recesses and ridges of that mask-like face. Now, I will mention there is a couple of minor issues with this too. Apparently, according to the pictures on the box, the teeth on this should be a little bit of a different color to the actual face itself, a lighter color. If you don't really care too much about this like I don't, that's not such a big deal. However, I did feel when you have it just in direct light, the detail is a little bit lost. So I jumped right on back to that work desk and grabbed a couple of panel liners to try and get some of that detail out. Now, I tried using a bunch of different kind of flow type, regular type panel liners to try and get the best out of this, and what can I really say? Panel lining this is not the easiest. The teeth aren't that, well, the mold isn't that deep, so it's kind of hard to panel line these effectively and rub off the excess and actually have ridges between the teeth. But in the end, this is what I got right here. The cracks in the mask or the skull do look pretty good. They panel line up well, but the rest of the detail is somewhat shallow, but not too shallow. Definitely be a lot easier to panel line this up if you had actually painted the entire kit, which of course you could do, but that's what I did. This is what I got. Now let's check out what it looks like. So yeah, there we go. There is Kaiju number 8 in all of its glory. So I suppose when it comes to figure-eyes, kits, or really anything in particular, I'm pretty sure you want to know just how big it is. So it is about 19 centimeters, or maybe 7¼ to 7½ inches to the top of its head. So it is a decently sized model. It's quite strong too, so it can stand up on its own. There is no real issues with anything like that. When it comes to the usual kind of model kit issues, thankfully we're not really seeing too much in the lines of nubs or seam lines. Just in case you don't know, nubs are where you snip this off the plastic and it can leave a little bit of a stress on the surface. Again, I didn't clean up any of them on this kit, so there are a couple of them there, but they're not the most noticeable. When it comes to seam lines as well, they aren't the worst. There's some on the sides of the legs, but the dark color masks those quite well. And finally, when it does come to mold lines, I'm not really seeing much that would be too problematic if you did want to get rid of those and paint it up. So overall, looking incredibly good. Of course, probably the most noticeable aspects on it are the joint parts. Basically all the little segmentation parts between where this does move around. They do look a little bit model kitty, but at the end of the day, they're not really that bad. They kind of have a little bit of a kind of carapace-y kind of vibe to it, and from a distance, really not too bad, but depends on how much you hate those kind of joints or not when they're looking like that. So there's an overview of what the Figure-Eyes Kaiju number 8 looks like in a multitude of different lights, and all I can say is, besides the arms, I am definitely impressed. This does look incredibly good. The scaling and all that different kind of pattern on the surface looks incredible, and that face just looks so cool. From every angle, it just looks like perfection. And the use of the foil stickers for the eyes works really well as well, because these do catch the light ever so nicely, and the glint gives it a little bit of life. That is pretty cool. Next up then, there's the full 360-degree spin, so you can see everything yourself, just in case I forgot to mention anything about it. And overall, I have to say, once again, definitely impressed by this ride here. Bandai Spirit's Figure-Eyes kits have just gotten better and better over time. A long time ago, or well, not even that long ago, a lot of the times you'd end up with something that kind of looked a bit funny, like the old Dragon Ball kits. This right here, this has definitely nailed it. Finally, onto a size comparison, and there it is beside the three main aspects of Gunpla, being a high-grade Gundam, a master-grade Gundam, and a perfect-grade Gundam. As you can see, it comes in pretty much the size of an average-size master-grade Gundam. Of course, it doesn't have the same level of detail, but that is the height it is, and the kind of presence that it will have up on your shelf. If that means absolutely nothing to you, here it is side by side with your average-size medium banana. So, yeah, banana, kaiju, banana. Jumping down to the accessories, and here's absolutely everything that comes with the Figure-Eyes standard Kaiju number 8. And what we get in here is a pair of alternate hands, so that's 2 pairs including the fists that were on it already. We've got an alternate faceplate, once again that's 2 with the one that's on it, and we have a full, complete alternate head and neck. Besides that, we've got some alternate leg and arm parts for reproducing Kaiju number 8's signature punch. So yeah, you get quite a bit in here. Let's try it out. So first off, when it comes to the hands, the fists have been attached the whole time. Jumping on in for a bit of a closer look, and these should be blue on the tendons on the back. So there's another bit of a color inaccuracy issue going on, but besides that, they are nicely sculpted and they do look nice. These are attached on by one of those kind of split ball joints. This is in that light blue, and it means you can get some nice articulation out of these, and they, well, pretty much do what you'd want them to. When it comes to the alternate hands we have in here, these are these dynamic, widespread, open hands with a little bit of a flex to them. These are ridiculously cool. Now, first off, in order to get these attached, you need to pop off the other hands. The joint will go with the hands, which is a little bit of a pain in the arse because you only have one joint per arm, so it means you don't actually have a joint per hand, which would make this make sense. So you have to try and get something or pull out that little wrist, which can be a little difficult because it holds into the hand better than into the wrist. But once you get past all of that, you just attach the hand onto that joint and then pop the hand with joint attached into the arms just like so. These look really, really good. Again, the exact same articulation we had before, and these look great in dynamic poses, whether in a pair or combined with the fists. So overall, so far, looking pretty cool. So next up in here, we've got some head and face options. When it comes to face plates, we've got two for the standard head and neck. The first one is this has been on it the whole time from the beginning of this review right here. And the other one is this right here, which as far as I can see is exactly the same as the standard version. I don't see much in the lines of difference at all. I was thinking maybe the eyes are a little bit different, but I'm not sure, and I don't mean the stickers. So this right here is the sheet of stickers that comes included, and over here you can see we have a bunch of options for the eyes. All the ones on the left right there, these ones apparently were for the first face. The ones there on the right are for the second face, but as far as I can see, they don't seem different at all. So you basically have a looking dead ahead, looking left, looking right, slightly cross-eyed, so there are the options. With the standard version right here, I went with the eyes looking dead ahead, and with the alternate one, I went with looking to the, well, his left, like so, for some cool glancing poses. So when it comes to swapping out the faces, it's super simple, the usual kind of figure routine. You just pop off the face plate just like so, and then pop the alternate one on like this. They both hold on perfectly, easy to remove and to attach, and that is what we get. Throw it into a little bit of a pose that will have him looking off to the left, and this is what it looks like. So again, you have the option of having the eyes whichever way that you want. So the next face or head option we have in here is this. Now this is a completely opened up head for that Kaiju number 8 mouth blast. Again, this is quite similar to the normal faceplate. This little section up here obviously is separated off from this one. Now, I will mention compared to what we see in the instructions, those teeth right there, those are meant to be in white, so you will have to paint those in yourself. The eyes are specific for this one. Those are those shining blue eyes. The details all the same. I did not panel line this one right here. This is what it looks like out of box. And I will mention round back, we do have these ball joints right here because this particular version does use the same neck plates the other head and neck combos use. Attaching this is simply just pop off the whole head and neck just like so. Then you're going to have to pull off all the plates from the back of that neck, transplant it onto the new head with the wide open mouth, attach that all then into the body like so, and that happens pretty simply. It's easy to do, very simple. This right here then is what you get. So this is nicely color separated besides those teeth on the rear section, the darker section there, but otherwise it does look very nice. The tongue is done in red, the eyes are a sticker, and overall we've got the same nice molding in that skull plate that we would have seen before. Last up in here then we've got a bunch of parts for doing, well, Kaiju number 8's various attacks, some of which I know, being this tripody leg attachment and this little arm attachment point with these little thrusters in the back. Now, there is another leg attachment part in here which seems to have these little booster thrusters in it and a mouth section, and this I don't think I've seen just yet because I'm only at chapter 33, I think, of the manga. But yeah, this one right here, this mouth section is meant to be in a kind of red with white teeth. Same goes for this right here, that is meant to be some red with some white sections. And the thruster parts right here, these are meant to be in red as well, just like we can see here in the manual. Now, these are tiny little things to detail up. If you got yourself some Gundam markers or something similar, that should be no issue whatsoever. So first up, in order to attach the leg parts, you just have to pop off the foot, including the joint, and then it pops off from the knee joint, just like so. It's very simple. And then you just do the exact reverse, pop on the leg, pop on the foot just like so. Now, straight out of the box, you're not really going to notice this one too much. This one with the kind of thruster or opening section just like so. This will need to be detailed up a little bit with some red and some white in order to notice that. So the next pair of parts we have in here are for that iconic Kaiju number 8 punch. So the leg goes on exactly the same. That's the one with the tripod aspects. And then for the arm, it's the exact same thing. You pop off the forearm, you pop off the hand off of that forearm, pop the hand onto the forearm, and then the forearm onto the body, just onto the exact opposite arm that I did right here, because according to the instructions, it's actually from the right arm, not the left. And then you get this right here, which is that punching pose. This kit does pull it off perfectly. It does look great. Like I mentioned, it would be nicer if we did have some red inside those thrusters. Totally super easy to do, however. Just a little bit of paint and it will look perfect. Awesome. So yeah, overall looking quite good. Very nice, but I will mention it can be a little bit difficult to pose at times. But thankfully, Bandai did think about that. And under these right here, number 1 and number 2, or should I say 2 and 3, we do have a 3mm hole. Now this will be compatible with pretty much any kind of standard figure base like this right here, which is Good Smile Company's Simple Stand. 3 of these for about $10 or so. It just pops on in here like so. And then you can use that to pose it in whichever way that you want. And that will keep it standing there nice and stable. So there is no stand included, but it is compatible with generic stands, which is good, so it won't fall off your shelf. So now moving into the articulation, and overall this is quite good. You're going to get some great poses out of it. It usually looks fantastic, and there isn't really much to complain about besides one minor aspect. Overall, when it is in poses, it does look great. It pulls off most poses that I wanted to try and get it into, and it pulls them off exceptionally well. One thing you might notice is sometimes with extended poses or poses with the limbs extended, you might see into the joints. You can hide this by the particular angle or position in it in a nice kind of way, but you can actually see into the joints. But thankfully, due to the design of Kaiju number 8, you don't actually, well, have a difference in color between the shoulder and hip joints compared to the rest of it, so it's not overly noticeable. The other thing is there is a little bit of a gap sometimes between the body and the shoulder, which kind of could look a little bit better, but overall works out well. And like I mentioned, there's only one kind of irritating aspect to it, which I'll mention right away. So as for the mildly irritating aspect, that is the way the kind of crotch is designed. So this is just loose kind of hanging out, which is pretty okay. But the problem is when you hyperextend one leg, you're pretty much okay. But once you try to hyperextend another one, it will separate instantly. That is because of the kind of like pair of jocks kind of design of this thing right here. Means it's a kind of Y shape inside here, this joint. So one moving down is fine, but once you move them both down, it pulls this ball out of the torso. You kind of get used to avoiding that happening, but it is a little irritating at times. Also, like I mentioned, there is a little bit of a gap between the shoulder and the body, which you notice, especially if it's lit from behind like that. But otherwise, this is rock solid. It won't fall out of, well, any poses you put it into. And let's do the test pose. So overall, when it does come to the test pose, this does extremely well, and the balance is quite good too. I could get everything I wanted out of this. There's a little bit of a limitation of a rotation at the waist, but the only thing that was well, what can I say, annoying, is the fact that there is no upper arm swivel or no forearm swivel. So that means when the arm's like this, you can't, well, goodbye bottom half, you can't actually bring this forearm down at all. It's kind of locked in position with this. So you can bring it around like that, but once you bring this up, it can't be brought down or up. So at this point, it sticks, so he wouldn't be too great at arm wrestling. Anyway, blasting through the whole thing now. There's him looking all the way up, looking all the way down. Side to side, and the pivot side to side as well. Great. And nice torso, shoulder, forward and back. When it comes to the actual shoulder, this can rotate all the way around. Arm all the way up, all the way down. Limited rotation, the bend at the elbow, and that nice split ball joint wrist. Goodbye. Ab crunch forward and back, side to side, kick to the front, kick to the back, splits, not awful. Rotation at the upper leg, went all the way around. The bend at the knee, not too bad. And the ankle here is incredibly nice. There's all the way down, all the way up. We've got a side to side pivot and a bend at the toes. So yeah, when it does come to overall posability, it's extremely good. When it comes to how strong the overall build is, it's really good as well, besides if you raise up both legs at once. Overall, it's a really nice posing experience, incredibly so considering that it is a model kit, not an action figure, which I keep forgetting about, honestly. So yeah, that right there is it for the review. There's not much to say. Aesthetically, it looks absolutely perfect, mixing some colors up on the bicep areas, the tendons on the feet and the back of the hands, but overall, looking great. The accessories in here are pretty cool. Again, color accuracy could be a little bit better, but overall we get some nice stuff in here. Alternate heads, alternate hands, and some attack accessories. Finally, when it does come to the articulation, better than expected, and will pull off pretty much everything you want, and the model kit style joints aren't really all that noticeable. Overall, fantastic model kit. If you want one, I highly recommend grab one. I got mine through Hobby Link Japan, link in the description. Pre-orders are still open for Shinomiya, so if you want to grab that, now is the time. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more model kit reviews, and I'll see you next time. I can't end this video right here without the usual thanks, saying thank you so much for watching. This video and this channel would not be possible without each and every single one of you, including those of you who support me over on the channel memberships and on Patreon, including Abraxas, Caleb Engelhart, Go Little Rockstar, Joe, or G59061, Shadow Wolf 179, 10 Soldier YT, and Van Fawn.